All right, that's recording, so don't say anything salacious.
Okay. I won't for the rest of the episode. I'll be as monotone as you want. I love Jeff.
You can have tone, you just can't say anything like defamatory or
Sure.
or libelous against someone who might be listening.
So really the opposite of the comedy gossip you and I have been divulging in for going on 90 minutes before recording this episode.
And no one will ever hear it.
Here, dear listeners of this podcast, who are we?
Who are we?
There we go.
Who are we, though? Who are we? I know who I am.
Yes.
I'm Lisa. I never introduce myself, though. That feels weird. I don't like doing it.
One of us has to steer this goddamn show.
No. You love doing that, though.
I do.
You do. Well, you introduce it then.
Hey, everyone. This is Reanimates.
Yeah.
Talking about everyone's least known actor, Jeffrey Combs.
Least known, most favourite.
Yeah. This is your host, Lisa Dibb. Take it away, Lise.
This is Lisa. My voice changed slightly for a bit there, and now it's different again.
It was more throwing to you than being you, but all right.
Throwing to me. I'm going to throw it back to you. Welcome, Timothy Clark.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here and recording with me and showing me a great episode of CSI, Crime Scene Investigation.
I'm genuinely surprised that you chose this because a peek behind the curtain listener, I gave Tim carte blanche. I gave him like my little organizational spreadsheet and I said, choose what you want because, there's not as many options now as we're getting down in the episodes. So this was his choice to do this one.
Definitely. I've had CSI on the brain lately. I've been kind of meaning to go back and watch a couple of early season episodes, and that's why I saw this jump out at me. Season 4 was a little after my time. I'd stopped watching this in the initial run when I was watching it as a child when it first aired. God, I'm so good at launching into my fucking annoying podcast tone that I hate. Fuck off. CSI, what a show, executive producer
Tim's had
Jerry
at least
Bruckheimer.
2 beers, so...
Yeah, I'm on the third.
Be prepared. Be prepared for vitriol.
Yeah, I'm recording at my home, but I'm still going to get in my car after this and drive into a tree.
Question. What do you like about CSI?
What do I like about CSI? Nostalgia is playing a lot into this equation because I did watch it. I watched it when it premiered. Do you remember the premiere of CSI or when it was first around?
No.
When we were very young, I remember it launched in 2000, probably early 2001 for Australia when we were being fast tracked back in the day when shows from the US weren't exactly fast tracked from the US. You would have to wait 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
I remember it being a big, because I was about 10 or so when it would have first launched. And
that's so funny, a 10-year-old watching CSI.
Honestly, we're going to get into it, but seeing the violence that was on display like the first 3 minutes, very shocking. I got to say, but I love CSI at the time. I don't think I understood everything.
No.
When they put the black lights on, I don't know what. I guess I assumed it was just blood.
Yeah. Or, you were just like, oh, they've got those glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling like I do.
A lot of spit on the wall someone left.
We'll get into, obviously, the various things that happen in this episode of CSI, but how does this rate violence and gore-wise to other episodes you've seen? Because I have almost zero experience with CSI. I think I've probably seen episodes when they've been on TV, but I have no recollection of anything that I've ever seen.
I think it was, for the time, is quite provocative, quite shocking, because it's easy to look back. CSI, I think, was the highest rated show for 3 or 4 years when it first debuted. It was a massive success.
Yeah.
I loved it as a kid because I loved any procedural, and this was the hip new thing that everyone was talking about. And
loved procedurals.
I love procedurals now as well. It's a great format.
That's what's funny is that when I picture you as a child, I picture you now but smaller, wearing overalls and a propeller hat.
A little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love watching cop shows and procedurals and sketch shows and comedies and sitcoms I also loved.
Yeah.
I love TV, basically. And this was the show you had to see because it was the big show at the time. I've not gone back and watched a whole heap of the early couple of seasons, but just from... Look, we're dancing around it. The first 5 minutes or so features a lot of graphic violence in this episode, which I'm thinking now, because it's season 4, possibly they either started out running with absolute crazy violence, which I'm sure they did, or this is just an intentional ramping up because it's like, well, it's season 4. The guild's off the lily a little bit. We got CSI Miami chomping at our bits. I know it's meant to be champion, but fuck off.
So
And this might just been oh my God, just for a reaction.
was CSI before like Law and Order?
No, Law and Order was 1990.
Okay, so that's very old then.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Law and Order's been going yonks. And then I think SVU was 97, 98. I can't be sure on that. So this
Wow.
is the next
Okay,
iteration of the procedural.
CSI is definitely a later it's definitely not the original by any means.
Yes, but this was the one that kind of blew everything away, where it's like, instead of, it's no longer NYPD Blue or Homicide Life on the Streets or any of the shows about the detective work or interviewing comedians, interviewing convicts.
Yeah.
Gosh, Freudian slip.
So it's more about forensics specifically.
Exactly, yes. Much
Yes.
more about forensics and less about interrogating, getting confessions out of people.
Doing the beat.
Yes.
Like I was going to say Statler and Waldorf. That is not who I meant.
They're
meant
doing shtick.
Stabler and
Benson.
Mariska Hargitay. Yes.
And a Mariska Hargitay to you. A reference to The Love Guru, if you've seen it.
No one listening has.
I've seen it at least twice in my life. Possibly 3. I can't remember.
All right. That's a guide for you, listener, to discount anything Tim says for the rest of the episode because his opinion doesn't matter.
I'm a man who loves culture, yeah?
I do like Law and Order. I think that's because it's the same with films. I like actors more than like directors or writers. So I'll go where the actor goes.
Right.
Clearly. If I'm doing this podcast.
And hey, folks, thanks for listening. Smash that subscribe button, check the likes, leave us a great review on Spotify, Apple Music.
So I like the Law and Orders I like have been because I like the actors in them, like Mariska Hargitay, Vincent D'Onofrio, Christopher Maloney. These are actors I like.
Sam Waterston.
I'm willing to suspend a little bit of taste, perhaps.
Exactly, of course.
Because it is
Your
trash.
undying love of Jerry Orbach gets you through a lot of episodes.
You've been reading my diary again.
I will do a lot more of these as we go on. I think CSI, one of the big things about CSI was the use of CGI in it as well. Because one big thing was it would constantly do these kind of zoom-ins and show you a CGI recreation of...
A forensic thing.
Blood soaking into a cloth or...
Which they did do in this episode a couple of times. And I was like, you know what, that's a nice change. Like, just to change the pace a little bit in terms of the way the episode is going. It isn't just people going up to, people in a small town and being like, hey, did you kill this person?
I'm sure you combine, flashy CG effects with... sexy cast, and it's in Las Vegas, and
sexy cast, I don't know.
salacious plots, and well, you need to see To Live and Die in LA because that man is hot, sitting on a toilet, drinking a mug of coffee.
Okay. Also, something that you said is that this was not like the core cast.
No, annoyingly, because
Okay.
I did, dear listeners, went into this like, oh, well, I loved it as a child, and I was big into CSI for about a year or so. I'd say I also read the tie-in novels that they made. The CSI point-and-click adventure game on the PC.
No.
Fucking loved that game.
No, there was not a point-and-click adventure game.
Of course it was. You click on the little magnifying glass to zoom in, and you use the tweezers to pick up fibers.
Oh.
It's great. It's really good.
Clarky, you're a darling.
It's like a little detective game you can play on the PC.
God.
Loved it.
Well, I mean, in my small amount of research that I did for this episode, it seems like this is the original cast, though, because this is season 4.
This is the original cast, yes. But it's one of those episodes where you get glimpses of a few of the core cast, and there is a B plot that I'm sure we'll get into it.
Yes.
But the main thrust of this episode is just Gil Grissom, William Peterson, Chicago's own, Steppenwolf Theatre, on his own, in a new location that we've not been to before, with a bunch of new characters, one of whom played by, of course, the greatest actor, Henry Cerny. But I did go into this like, oh yeah, I want to get an episode of classic CSI where Gil and Catherine are dealing with some murder at a casino, and then Nick and Sarah... Oh, can I do this? And Warwick? Possibly. No, that's Gary Dordain. Warwick dealing with the death of a stripper down the road.
Oh, God. He's beautiful minding, everyone. Get out of here.
God, I'm good.
All right.
And Paul Guilfoyle's just there, just like, hey, what do you want from me, brother?
He's just hanging out, doing quips.
Jim Brass. That's his name.
Oh, that's a good name. No, that's a good name for a beat cop.
Yeah. Paul Guilfoyle is one of my favorite actors, I'm now realizing.
All right, so obviously some of these names are not going to mean anything to you if you don't watch a lot of TV, because there's a lot of TV-heavy personalities here. So this episode, directed by Danny Cannon, who has directed 137 episodes of CSI, as well as Judge Dredd.
Oh, the Stallone Judge Dredd?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
So he's worked with Jeffrey Combs and Rob Schneider.
Two of the greats. Yeah. Because there often is a Jeff connection in terms of like, because I kind of look at things and I go, well, how did he get this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not how did he get it, because he's a good actor, but what was the connection? Because often there'll be someone who like recommends an actor or something.
I see, yeah.
So the other thing that Danny Cannon recommended was I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which Jeffrey Combs was also in.
Okay. Was also one of the options on the list you gave me, I believe. You've not done that one?
I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
No.
Stay tuned.
Somewhere in the future. So it's written by Naren Shankar, who has written 183 episodes of CSI.
Damn.
That is so many.
That is a lot. And this is also, back in the day when full seasons would be 24 episodes.
Yeah, American seasons.
American seasons, yeah. Big, beefy boys. So, that's still 4 years of good, solid work. If they're, working on... Because I imagine there may be story by credits in there as well and contributing factors with their writing room. I'm not sure...
So the other credit is listed as Carol Mendelsohn, who's listed as a creator of CSI Miami and CSI New York. So I assume by co-writing credit, it means just like creator credit.
Possibly,
I guess.
yeah.
She wasn't listed as a creator, but
her hands were clear by the time CSI Cyber came around.
When did CSI Cyber start?
I think like 2015.
Okay.
Patricia Arquette was the lead. And
really?
It was definitely post her Oscar. Yeah.
I like Patricia Arquette. Maybe I'll watch that one.
I mean, it's like this. It's a procedural that went for 4 or 5 years.
But it's cybercrime.
It is cybercrime.
Speaks to me.
It's 2015 era cybercrime, meaning they're probably referencing technology from 5 years earlier than that.
At least, yeah.
Oh, that's going to have a lot of scenes of hacking, though.
But I guess it depends on, how in movies that they have to deal with the internet, they make up websites and it'll be like a Facebook placeholder and it'll be called like friend book or whatever.
Yeah.
So my first thought of this episode, why are labs in movies and TV so fucking dark? This is a medical facility. You need to be able to see. We don't need moody lighting. This is medicine.
I think I can sum that up in 4 words. Executive producer Jerry Bruckheimer. The first credit that pops up. Good on you, Jerry. But obviously, Jerry Bruckheimer was known for flash and substance over anything that makes sense.
That does make a little bit of sense.
And as you can see,
but it happens all the time.
I get that. I think CSI is a great example of this. But I think it's more of an appeal than a distraction for me, at least. Because one of the reasons I want to go back is seeing this gaudy early 2000s. Big neon lights, kind of heavy shadows. It's very hard to explain. But if you, dear listeners, have seen a early CSI episode recently, you know that it's got a very specific look to it now, where I'm sure at the time it blended in with a bunch of the other glitzy, big budget TV shows like this. But I also took note of the very of its time music that kicks in straight away as well.
Yes.
Which, and again, Lisa has said, disregard all of my opinions on taste. I thought it was cool.
No, your taste in music is amazing, Tim, obviously.
In my ears, I'm a divorced dad.
We start with a box in a lab. The doctor opens the box. The box has a bucket in it, and in that bucket is a human head covered in leaves and muck.
Dr. Robbins, of course, the coroner of the show, is investigating it, and Gil comes in. And Gil Grissom, as we all know, in season 4, we know he's a professional.
Yeah.
He's a medical professional.
Yeah.
He might have served. I'm not sure. He's not going deaf yet.
Well, he's also, he's one of those, genius of all trades. He seems to know everything about everything.
Ted Danson hasn't come in and replaced him yet.
Well,
no, Lawrence Fishburne did first.
And, obviously Matthew Gray Gubler was on a different show, so we didn't... So we needed someone who had,
I'm very impressed you didn't say Eric Christian Olsen by mistake like I always do. God, if you're the one person who got that, congratulations. You've won a lifetime supply of regret.
Grissom, to me, again, because I haven't seen CSI, this is my introduction to this show. This is my introduction to Grissom. The first thing he says when he sees a human fucking head in a box is this.
I heard you got some head.
Fucking hell.
This took me by this is a real surprise. Because in my mind,
normally this quippy?
I'm now having doubts about myself because I don't remember him being so quippy. I think he was more of the reserved, quiet type, and other people around him would be making the quips. Hey, in the universe of the show, maybe he's gone through a lot of stuff.
Because what's his name is the quippy one? David Caruso in NCIS?
CSI, Miami.
Wait, CSI Miami or NCIS?
David Caruso was on NYPD Blue and left for...
Who was on NYPD Blue?
He was Well, all right, now we're getting into David Caruso.
Please.
He was on one...
I'll hear all about David
possibly
Caruso.
2 seasons of NYPD Blue.
Okay.
He was such a big name at the start, he left and thought, well, this is going to be fantastic. I'm going to go straight into a big Hollywood career. And
He did do films?
yes, of course, he would. At that point, he had already been in Hudson Hawk. And then he left NYPD Blue to be in Joe Esterhaus's Jade. Massive bomb. Jade was the highest paid script at the time. Ooh. And then it was maybe not a complete bomb, but definitely...
didn't make its money back.
Didn't make its money back. Honestly, I can't really think of any David Caruso movies besides Session 9 before he comes back to CSI Miami, which would have been either... No, it would have been premiering the year after this episode of CSI because I think CSI Miami was 2004. Listeners at home, I'm doing this all off the top of my head.
He really is.
I've done no research.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
Also,
ask me my mother's birthday. I can't tell you.
What's my name?
November something.
Also, obviously, if you're listening to this, you are most likely a horror fan. If you are a horror fan, just as a side note, Session 9 is great. It's spooky. I won't say anything more, actually. If you haven't seen it, it's really good. Just watch it.
And hey, can I take this opportunity? If you like William Peterson, Gil Grissom in CSI, To Live and Die in LA, and Manhunter, another very scary horror. So Doc Robbins is getting some head in the lab.
We should all be so lucky. Why is the theme song this song by The Who?
I don't know.
It's jarring.
I think it might just purely be, Jerry Bruckheimer at the time and people who work on it were, big in Hollywood, so they probably thought a big song that everyone knows, a big rock song, might tie it in, and can't really think of many other shows at the time outside of a few that were doing licensed songs. I know Charmed had a licensed song for its intro.
They had a cover of a licensed song.
Yes. I'm sure there were heaps, but I'm drawing a blank at the moment. But I do like how...
Is this The Who?
This is The Who, yes.
Okay,
and
so
I do like
it's the
how
original.
every CSI spin-off has a different Who song. So I like how they've kept that consistent.
Oh, that's funny. That's probably like an in-joke at this point.
CSI, let me go. CSI Miami was... Won't Get Fooled Again.
Yep.
New York was Bubba O'Reilly. Cyber was... It's like the Who song is like I Can See for Days or I Can See for Miles.
Okay.
I don't really know the song. And I think that's it. I think when they brought CSI regular back, they just have Who Are You? I could be wrong on that one.
That's more than enough
Every
information,
autism test I've taken is wrong. I don't have it. And I can prove it in a forensic lab.
All right, so Grissom is who we're going to be spending most of our time with. What's his name?
Gil Grissom.
No, he's...
William Peterson.
William Peterson, all right. So we're going to spend most of our time. We will jump back to the other character, basically, once or twice, but...
That's right. Catherine Willows will be definitely getting a look in.
She gets a look in, but not a huge amount of airtime. Grissom is going to be spending most of his time in a small town called Jackpot, Nevada.
Which is the name of the episode, Jackpot.
It is the name of the episode. I can't remember if I mentioned that. Season 4, episode 6. Jackpot is where the box came from. The cops are not helpful. As mentioned, the lead cop is played by Henry Cerny, who's been in heaps of good stuff. I mostly recognized him because he is the dad in Ready or Not.
Oh, yes, he is.
Yes, which is funny because the last episode that would have come out at time of recording also has a cast member from Ready or Not.
Well, how about that? Also, Ready or Not, great horror. Check it out.
Great horror movie. It's really good. Apparently they're making a sequel. Don't know why.
Yeah. Well, Henry Cerny is also going to be in a sequel this year, one of my most anticipated movies of the year. He's going to be in the new Mission Impossible.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he's Kittredge.
Okay.
He was the boss in the first, and then they brought him back for the 7th.
Oh, he is in
And
it,
I tell you what, as a Mission Impossible fanboy, I was like, oh yeah, they're getting the band back together.
Oh,
Kittredge.
The old faces,
Yeah.
like walking through an art gallery.
Oh, if I can take a Mission Impossible side tangent.
Please.
In every Mission Impossible, they have a new actor playing the director of the Mission Impossible Force or whatever, the IMF.
Okay.
So they had like Sir Anthony Hopkins, they had Tom Wilkinson, they had Angela Bassett. The most recent one, Carrie Elwes.
Oh, see, I like that. Yeah.
I fucking clapped when I saw her in the cinema.
Like a seal.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, it's just jangling keys in front of you. Timmy.
Get Angela Bassett out of here. Come on. Who cares about the best arms in Hollywood?
You know who'd be good as a leader of the IMF?
Yes.
Jeffrey Combs.
I mean, yeah.
He's an old man. He can get gravitas.
I think he would be better as one of the underlings.
No! You shut your fucking mouth.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter because Angela Bassett's back for the latest one.
That's fine. So the head was found by a woman who was walking her dog. So the dog found the head. The woman whose dog found the head seems so fine with it.
I got to say, this also, they didn't establish well enough that I think that the head wasn't being sent by a killer. I thought that was...
Yeah.
I thought it was like a killer taunting them for a second.
Yeah, because why would you send a head in the mail?
Yeah.
Because it's just in like a brown box.
And the whole point of sending that, and I guess, yes, listeners, it's all for dramatic effect. We get that. But it wasn't on full display when we first watched this. And I thought, this is going to be like a killer taunting them. But turns out it was just, the local police sending the head because they didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think of this?
But they did find a surgical cut on the cheek to indicate, something's afoot here.
Something's ahead here. Grissom and the cops, they go looking for the body. They find it remarkably quickly. The body, sans head, is buried up to the severed neck in the dirt. It's pretty fucking gruesome, actually.
Incredibly gruesome.
It's like, because a lot of the practical effects in this, like the fake body and the fake head, they look pretty good, actually, for TV.
They look pretty good. They look very realistic, I gotta say. I think, especially, if we're putting our minds in the world of 2003, watching the standard definition TV on a Sunday night in prime time when this would have been airing.
Yeah.
Very, very gruesome stuff. And I think that is also what set it apart from things like NYPD Blue or Law and Order at the time, where they weren't afraid to go into the full gruesome details. And I guess that's, if I'm thinking about it now, I think that's kind of why they were allowed to be so graphic and so gruesome, where it's like, yes, this is a severed head, but we'll zoom in and show you blood cells and tendons.
It's science.
It's science, exactly.
Yeah,
we
so
can
it's
hide
educational.
behind that. Which is probably one of the big sordid details about why I liked it so much as a kid.
Because you're a freak?
I'm a morbid freak.
Mm-hmm. Grissom, he mentions to the sort of cops that are hanging around that it is perhaps related to a Native American punishment ritual where apparently one was buried up to their necks and tree sap poured over their heads to attract ants. I found no evidence of this. Like, I did a Google in terms of like trying to find anything related to Native American punishment and rituals and stuff like that. I'm not a historian, but I also don't think that Naren Shankar is a historian either.
Right.
So I don't think that's true.
We also had different reactions because I heard that and was like, oh, yes, I've seen that in a movie. Must be real. Didn't realize it was Native American. I thought,
yeah. Oh, it's good to have something to tie that
I've seen it
onto,
mostly
actually.
from cartels and stuff I've watched.
Yeah, I think I saw that in a Bugs Bunny once. Yeah. Pretty soon, though, Jeff. Woo! We love that guy.
Yeah. That's great you put in that clip of the owl in the woods from this episode.
I need to get a Jeff Claxon. So he's playing Dr. Dale Sterling, who's a coroner but also a vet.
I like that detail. I like that. It made it feel a lot more small town.
Yeah, because I didn't realize you could be both.
Right, yeah.
But apparently you can. He explains later in the episode that he trained as a coroner and then chose to be a vet. I guess I don't know. Maybe you can do that.
If we're going to launch into Jeff Talk straight away.
Go on.
I know why they cast him. They've done the same thing. They've got Henry Czerny, Jeffrey Combs, and we're going to talk about Michael Boehm coming up. All actors that you recognize, but you don't know them because they're not famous. And it's classic CSI of having all three of them there. So it's like, who's the killer? For a long part of this, I did think, all right, Jeff's going to be the killer.
They do posit him as the red herring quite a lot.
Yes, because he is quite good at playing a weird little freak.
No. I've never seen evidence of that, Tim. So I think you should take that back.
I think he looks fantastic in this episode. One of the appeals of Jeffrey Combs, I feel, is that he always had the energy of a much older character actor in a little pretty boy.
Yep.
This is him kind of growing. One of the older things I've seen him in, not as in he's older than what I normally would associate with him.
Okay, more recent.
Yes, when I think of Jeffrey Combs, I think of Reanimator age or
80s and 90s. Yeah,
80s
yeah. I
and
think
90s.
most of the stuff you've done has been earlier in his career.
Yes,
yep.
of course. I'm constantly thinking about Cellar Dweller, for example.
Aren't we all?
So yes, this was also very nice to see him get some nice wrinkles and some nice smile lines on his face. He's looking good.
He's a beautiful man.
He is a beautiful man.
Yeah, early 2000s, he was doing a lot of TV. Turn of the century, this is just me positing this. Turn of the century, I think he was trying to decide what to do. Because I know he's often said that he really wanted to do a sitcom. And
man.
I think that this was his go at trying to get into TV. but inevitably I think he was just always going to be stuck with the horror thing. And so he was always going to get like horror-y TV. Like obviously he did like The Single Guy, but he didn't do a lot of comedy TV specifically, which is such a shame because he is funny, but he keeps getting lumped into the weird squirrely freak guys.
He would be he would be really good at it. I'm trying to think of like a character trope in a sitcom that I think he would slot in. I would think he would, in terms of comedy, he would slot into like an Ed O'Neill in Wayne's World, where it's like you cut to him just for like a weird, creepy aside. Something like that in a sitcom would suit him just right.
He wouldn't be like Raymond, but I think that he'd be great as like Raymond's acerbic dad. Like if he was doing it now to be a dad, if it was, back in the 2000s, maybe like Raymond's like sassy brother.
Yeah. And also we're skipping over the greatest sitcom role that he could have, an episode where Sabrina the Teenage Witch meets Satan. He could play Satan.
He'd be a great Satan.
Yeah, Mr. Beelzebub, the new high school teacher who's a little bit off. Yeah, I think Jeffrey Combs can shit that role out.
No, his first name is Bob and his last name is Beazle.
Even better.
It writes itself.
Salem's got the one-liners already.
Yep. Hello, Lisa picks up phone. Jeff, I've got a role for you. Yes, it's your agent, idiot.
So we've introduced ourselves to Mr. Jeffrey Combs.
We've introduced Jeff. He's the coroner who needs to sign off on the death, which is pretty funny.
You are the coroner, I presume.
Mr. Grissom, Dr. Dale Sterling, I sent you the head. How can I help?
Well, we can't touch the body until you authorize it.
Oh. He's dead. You're authorized. Thanks, Doc. That's nice work.
I did love how much admin and legal speak they're doing about, we don't have authority to conduct a autopsy here.
You love that stuff.
I do love that stuff.
You love admin in film.
I do love a fucking big city dick coming in and telling these small folks, no, this is proper police work. We need to file the paperwork and
we're
cross
do
the
this
T's,
by the
dot the I's.
book.
Yeah, I've watched all of Twin Peaks this year, so a no-nonsense detective coming into a small town, love that shit.
I would disagree. I would say Dale Cooper is very nonsense.
Well, yeah, I suppose so.
He's a mix, isn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, this isn't the Twin Peaks podcast.
I'll get there one day.
Eventually,
I'll get there one day. Twin Peaks fire chat with me.
Nobody steal that. Nobody do it. Tim's going to do it. Grissom is, I think, at Sterling's house after this. It must be either at his house or like the vet clinic. They do throw in a red herring of, there's a photo of Dale, Jeff, with the sassy waitress from the diner that we were at earlier. And he's like, we were married. It didn't work out. Oh, well. Which obviously, planting plot seeds.
This did bring me back to my childhood love of CSI, where after a while I did really recognize all the red herrings that they would intentionally put in, which is now, looking back, a lot of fun, I found.
That's so funny to think of you being like 10 or 11 and being like, nah, it's a red herring. They're fooling us.
I think I was definitely that age where I was like, well, clearly it's going to be Tony Hawk. He's the guest star. He's in the best video game of all time with the best soundtrack. Of course they're going to make him the villain.
But it isn't always that case. Like, sometimes they get the guest star and he's just like the killer's dad.
I do like that.
Yeah. I do remember an episode of SVU where, spoiler alert, Martin Short was the killer. And I was like, that's actually a fucking fun role for him to play like a psycho killer.
Right.
Because he's actually quite good at turning that sort of like cheeky comedy stuff into like menacing murderer. Anyway.
And I'm guessing he was playing it under the top? What? Under the top, I said? Or was it over the top? The opposite of what I said. Can we do an edit point?
Yeah.
Can we do an edit point where you put this in twice?
Louder. I'll put it up louder.
All right.
So they search the body for evidence. Grissom's like a real workhorse. Like, he just won't let up until he solves this damn case. He finds a receipt in the victim's pocket, sends it to HQ. This is one of the only times we go back to Las Vegas where, like, HQ is. We've got CSI Catherine Willows, played by
Marg Helgenberger?
And CSI Warwick Brown.
Is this Gary Dourdan?
Yes.
Okay.
Warwick is wearing a really low-cut shirt for the workplace.
Right.
It's like, I reckon it's too low cut. So the receipt that he finds, it's for college books. They managed to narrow it down to like literally one guy, a guy called Ross. The potential victim's roommate, I didn't realize this should have been a red herring because the potential victim's roommate definitely doesn't seem too bothered that his roommate might have been murdered.
This did get me. They did set it up very nonchalantly, and it came back to bite us in the ass.
I just thought that this was like bad TV acting. I just thought, oh, this actor just isn't doing a very good job of being concerned. The sassy waitress recognizes him as a customer because she was flirting with him, as sassy small town waitresses want to do.
Yeah.
What does she say? She says something like, "What's on the menu, sweetie?"
There's fried chicken. Me.
Kiss my grits.
Imagine a kindly older lady with like, sort of slightly running makeup, because she's had a long shift, obviously.
She pulled a double.
She pulled a double because she's got kids at home.
Yeah.
And,
hey, the younger one who's meant to take over, she's having boy troubles. But hey, you deal with that.
But Mama's got to get to work. But she comes up and she says, she asked me if she can refill my coffee. And she calls me hun. That would make my life.
God, that would be so cool.
I don't even drink coffee.
Yeah.
I'd let her refill the cup.
I think we both want to be truckers.
That's the life. They seem happy.
We want to be a trucker in a Dolly Parton song.
No, I want
worst ways to happen.
The flashback that they have of the waitress flirting with Ross has Sterling, Jeff, sneering in the background, which is another red herring because we're meant to think that Jeff didn't like this young'un flirting with his ex-wife. But again, is that going to be relevant? Probably not. It's not. Grissom thinks the killer is local, so the cops let him go looking for tracks or the missing car, which he finds, again, super quickly.
I mean, they got to fill an hour.
Look, and also he's good at his job.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. It's been shut up into a barn. This is interrupted by his car alarm going off. His car has been broken into and his field kit stolen.
Someone trying to sabotage, and you don't know why, probably thinking, well, they're protecting themselves, and then, as we're going to get into it, turns out they were protecting someone else that they were falsely thinking they were needing to protect, and then it kind of finishes up in a neat little bow at the end. It's not great television writing. It's serviceable. It makes sense.
It does the job. So Grissom eventually goes to Jeff's vet clinic, where Jeff is wearing silly little glasses and holding a dog by the head. He asks to use some window tinting film because he's got a fucking plan. He's going to MacGyver a field kit.
This took me by massive surprise. The MacGyver element, now that the field kit has been stolen, he has to go to the general store and buy a bunch of equipment and
hardware shit and just make stuff that does forensic stuff.
And that involves like a sheet of, I don't know, X-ray paper over a footprint and then electrifying the paper so it lifts particles up. I think by season 4 they were getting a little loose with the scientific element of the CSI procedures.
There's a little bit of blah 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 forensics here.
Which, hey, we're judging right now, but if we were writing 149 episodes of CSI, we get to season 4, we're like, fucking, he can lift a footprint off the door. Who cares?
Well, I mean, I do wonder.
I'm voting for Bush.
How many? But I also imagine there's not a lot of people who are that familiar with forensic science that are watching CSI necessarily.
Definitely not at the start, which was, I guess, probably part of the appeal. People learned a lot. They shouldn't do crime. They'll find you.
Sometimes.
If you're going to do crime, do it outside of Las Vegas.
Grissom's coming for you. So Grissom suspects that the cops are hiding something, which makes sense because Henry Cerny's character is being very suspicious.
And I'm not sure if we mentioned, but Henry Cerny playing the local sheriff.
Yes, yep. He's the cop that we keep coming back to.
And he's got his flunkies, the police around him. One of them is his brother.
Yes. He does have a couple of dopey cops that just sort of hang around like not wanting to do their job, which I guess is in every cop show. A lot of, okay, boss.
Yeah. And hey, in real life as well.
Yeah. Most of the force, I imagine. So the barn where the car is, it's under the control of the local gas station owner, a guy called Marty, who acts deliberately suspiciously. I'm annoyed at myself for looking at this actor and knowing immediately that he was Buck the rapist in Kill Bill.
Oh, Michael Bowen? Yeah. Yes, I know him.
I wish I had looked at him and gone, oh, that fucker.
Yes.
You know.
He was also in Jackie Brown, where he was not a rapist. He was another cop. He was also Uncle Jack in the final season of Breaking Bad, where he played a Nazi rapist.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to diversify.
Yeah.
Look,
But
he does have a good, like, grizzled kind of face.
oh, I love Michael Bowen. I'm like, look, I'm not going to talk about his character. I'm sure I hope he's a nice person.
Doesn't matter.
I went from sure to I hope. He does have a lot of cowboy hats in photos.
Who can say?
Also in not the movie I thought you mentioned before, but The Last House on the Left remake. It looked like the poster to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Edit point. We're back in.
Catherine calls saying the victim has been sending romantic IMs, that's instant messages for you, Gen Z, to someone in Jackpot. Catherine also, this is where the show lost me a little bit. Catherine receives a check, a big check. It's $230,000 from someone called Sam Braun.
Right.
This, coupled with another scene later, shows that this is a more linear plot from something that's happened earlier, and I was very lost.
Yeah.
Because I've not seen any other episodes of CSI.
I get that. And I only had a very, very loose recollection of what this could be about. Because I remember, from my recollection, the first season of CSI is pure procedure. Just like, it's just introducing the characters. You don't know about their past lives or anything like that.
Well, yeah, their personal stuff, yeah.
You might get glimpses of it here and there, but there's no overarching story or anything like that. And I think when they got to season 2 and 3, there was like an arc of a serial killer that took a season or something like that. Gil Grissom started a relationship with a madam of a place that had someone be killed, and then that was salacious. And then Catherine, it turns out she used to be a stripper to support herself because she rejected the money given to her by a wealthy family. And her brothers were killed, I think, in season 2 or 3 or something like that.
Okay.
But when I saw this, I was like, oh, yes, this is when they were starting doing, and then eventually Gil and Sarah start hooking up and...
Crazy.
Yeah, more longer-term stories start taking place. But this is the kind of the era where, and we saw it with a lot of the dialogue in that same scene where it's like, don't you know, you're my father. Yes, but I'm your daughter and I need to protect you. But no, my brother was killed last year and another of my sons is in the ground.
Okay, in fairness, the scene that happens later with when she eventually goes to see Sam Braun to give him the check back, it is not made clear enough that that is her dad. I assumed that that is her dad because he says something like, I didn't do right by your mother. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's her dad. I assume that these shows are for people who are watching them every week and not picking one out of the middle of season 4. That is often the problem with this podcast, is having to pick TV shows an episode at a time. But that's fine. I also didn't care.
Yeah, I get it.
Because we don't cut back to Catherine very much.
And I think that's kind of the reaction people, like the producers would have been thinking. It's like, we want to have longer form stuff, but this is still, hey, TiVo was just introduced. People were just catching up on, being able to record TV and catching up, and DVD box sets weren't even a thing at this point.
Wow.
So if you missed an episode, you missed a multi-episode arc, they still have to catch you up and make it seem like it was still progressing. And they did the best that they could by just stringing some stories along. I'll be interested to see what they did with because they brought regular CSI. I think they brought it back like late 2010s.
Oh.
And I'll be interested to see whether they kept it very procedural or if they did go a little bit more, by that point it was like you release 10 episodes all at once and it tells one long story that could be a movie.
Tim, did you have any CSI box sets?
I think I had the first season on DVD. Maybe maybe the family got it for Christmas somewhere, but I definitely rented it from the library. I know that. I have a clear memory in my mind of renting. Remember when you get those single DVDs that had
like
3
2
episodes?
or 3 episodes? Yeah.
I got that from the library. Thank you, Australian libraries, for letting me rent CSI on DVD.
They shouldn't have let you.
Oh, and I should point, we've gone so far. I'm so sorry. I need to give a big shout out to the engineers and the software developers behind the Paramount Plus Australian app. I've never seen an app crash so often, and it must have been so tempting to make a good app, and I must commend you on your perseverance to sticking with creating something that is truly awful. No, I will not want to watch new seasons of Geordie Shore. I'm getting fucking pissed off here.
I managed to track down the episode by other means, but That is annoying when it's like, because I know that there is some apps that have a couple of episodes of things that I need for the podcast eventually, and I'm just dreading having to watch them on that because they are so unreliable.
You know what? I feel like I'm being a bit too harsh. You know, now that I think about it, Paramount Plus, you're a great app because you give me a lot of chance to just decompress after a tough day at the office. I remember last night I was on the couch, I clicked Paramount Plus, scrolled my phone for 2 minutes while the app loaded, went down to series, spent another few minutes on the phone just decompressing.
Yeah.
And that went on for about 10 minutes before I was able to select the fucking episode.
It's meditative.
It's
what it
bad.
is.
It's a bad app.
It's meditative. It gives you time. It gives you time to reconsider your choices.
Lisa's-
Maybe you don't want to watch CSI.
We're not recording this with headphones, or we're just kind of using levels on the fly, so apologies if this is sounding too loud. But I don't like the app.
I'm going to make it louder.
No, but seriously, great company.
Yeah, no, we love them. Get them sponsored. No, look, if I'm going to get sponsored by anybody, it's going to be Tubi. Sterling and Grissom are looking at the bloods on the dog that was chomping on the victim's head. There are traces of GHB, which is very much a throwback. I don't know if this was a thing in America as well, but there was such a scare about GHB here.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, because there used to be all these headlines about calling it grievous bodily harm, even though that's not the acronym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That took me so long to clock in my head. Where I was like, oh, well, I guess that's what it is.
And there's a little bit of like forensic magic here where there was traces of cat hair found in the car, and apparently Sterling Jeff can tell just by looking at them that they are from an Abyssinian cat, and that there's only one person he knows with an Abyssinian, and he has a framed photo of this person in his vet clinic of that cat with its owner, who is Leland, our main cop's brother.
You also couldn't remember the main cop's last name, could you?
No. Brooks?
Brooks, it was, yes.
Yep.
Fucking Leland Brooks sounds like a character actor you could make a podcast about.
At this point, I made a note and said, have we met him? Did we meet him in this episode?
We met him a little bit because he was kind of like when we were being first introduced to Henry Soni's character, he was with the group of cops, like the dickhead cops that he was kind of bring around. He was kind of like tell him, boss, of the cops.
Yeah, because I saw that and I went, who? And I scrolled back through the episode on my computer and I went, and then I tried to look up the actor's face and I was trying to pinpoint it to someone else in the episode. And I couldn't, and so I went, all right.
He looks a bit like Brian Van Holt.
Who?
He was in Den of Thieves. He was in...
Don't reference Den of Thieves.
It's pretty good.
I haven't seen it.
He was in Basic. He was in SWAT. He's been in a lot of dumb early 2000s action movies, which means he's on my radar.
Unfortunately not my forte, but clearly one of your favorite guys.
A white guy with like a very stern haircut. A haircut you can really set your watch to.
So Grissom thinks that Ross, the victim, and Leland were in a relationship and that Ross was in Jackpot, Nevada, visiting him. Henry Cerny does not appreciate this idea. They go to see Leland. They have a chat privately, which I don't think you can do. You can't just be like, I'm just going to go in and talk to this suspect that I have a personal relationship with alone before this other cop comes in.
We got to change the system. They can't keep getting away with it.
You got to do things by the book. And while Grissom is admiring Leland's lovely Abyssinian cat, a gun is fired. It appears that Leland was trying to kill Grissom and then himself. Because when we go in, there is a struggle with Henry Cerny, and he is trying to shoot himself in the head.
I did like this part where it does kind of play into the corruption of the police and who's protecting who. Was he trying to fire at Gil to kill him? Was he just trying to kill himself? And then the brother leapt in and pushed the gun out of the way. I think for the 3 or 4 minutes where it's left up in the air for a procedural primetime show from 25 years ago, I think they did a very good job.
We go back to Ross's laissez-faire roommate. This is Eric, who turns out is the son of Leland, the cop's brother.
It's all politics.
Well, it's just a weird, seems like a weird coincidence up until now, doesn't it? Yeah. It's probably not, though. He refuses to accept the idea that either his dad or Ross, his roommate, could have been gay. But, thankfully, he is wearing apparently the same shoes as the person whose prints had been found at the crime scene.
God, it's just one coincidence after another.
I mean, look, this is all circumstantial, Your Honor. Okay?
It is.
You know, there have been millions of pairs of those shoes made. Who's to say that my client has the exact same shoes as that person? It just happens to be that he admits everything immediately.
Your Honor, I've never even heard of this Reebok.
No, Your Honor.
I'm just a simple man who doesn't wear shoes.
Now, where I come from, ain't nobody wear shoes.
It gets in the way of dipping your toesies into the creek.
No.
Is it a sin to be as shoeless as the day God made me? Well, then lock me up.
Don't lock me up. I'm trying a case. Now.
Oh, man. The one character CSI was missing.
Surely there was one episode where they had, like, a fat southern lawyer in a seersucker suit.
Oh.
There must have been. They must have done an episode in, like, Arkansas.
Oh, surely. I've always thought Seersucker Suit would be a great name for a movie.
For a blaxploitation movie.
Ooh, not bad. All right. Well, once I get that time machine working.
and become black.
Oh, yeah. That's part of the time travel. I've got plans. So we're back to the roommate.
So Grissom and Henry Cerny, they chat to Leland. They get the down low. And even though the cop has actually been a dick this whole episode, he's actually oddly accepting of his brother having a relationship with this younger man.
It was surprising. I mean, the handling of the brother being gay, it's not amazing. Dealing with small towns.
Yeah.
All the characters are very, let's not talk about it, let's keep it hidden.
Yeah.
But there's no overt homophobia I could see, or definitely no slurs.
No, I think it's meant to be more indicative of the way very small towns are rather than the way the show is portraying it.
Yes.
Because the show is saying small towns can be a little bit small-minded. A little bit, yes. Although, generalization, but again, I'm not American. I don't know what your small towns are like, America. Maybe they're oddly progressive.
And we are also ignoring the fact that there might have been several of its time, now looking back, cringe episodes of CSI up until this point.
This is 2003, isn't
2003, yeah.
Yeah, this is 22 years ago. That's a lifetime in TV terms. Grissom tells Leland that he believes that Eric, the roommate, killed Ross by drugging his coffee that he had in the thermos on his long drive to Jackpot so that he could bury him and torture him. And Eric admits to this very quickly. He does not put up much of a fight in terms of, like, trying to clear his name or trying to say he didn't do it. He folds like a deck of cards. That's not the phrase.
They would be easy to fold.
They're
individually, I
paper.
suppose, yeah. Together, yeah.
We could get one, make them like a duck beak. Whack, whack.
I guess apes together strong is what we've decided. Yeah, but at that point, it was like, 5 minutes left. Let's wrap it all up. And also, if I had drugged my roommate, who's fucking my dad, and buried him up to his neck, and then cut him, and then the head was found, and they figured it out and presented everything to me, I think my first reaction would be like, you figured it all out.
You got me.
You got me, coppers. What took you so long? Well played, Mr. Grissom.
Just from the other side of the room. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm never gonna get to slow clap and give a reveal in my life.
I believe you could. I believe you
Maybe
will
I
one
can.
day.
Yeah.
You just need to be more of an evil genius.
Oh, you don't think I'm capable of it?
Oh God, there's lasers coming out of Tim's house.
Now that I've killed those 3 mosquitoes, we can continue on with recording the rest of this episode.
To kill the mosquitoes was your plan all along.
That's the best part, Lisa. There was no mosquitoes.
Come now, Miss Dib. You enjoy killing mosquitoes as much as I do.
Oh, it's fun to pod.
Well, one of the things that Eric says, which is kind of creepy, actually, when he has very clearly just laid down and decided that he's not going to even try to defend his name, he says that he, quote, wanted him to suffer, Ross, which is very scary because
Very scary, yeah.
It's the way that this character died is so appalling. It's so because obviously, like, I think it becomes clear that he wasn't decapitated by Eric.
Yes, I think it was more torture being buried up to his neck and then
letting animals do the thing. So that's why he cut his cheek, is because he wanted predators to come and do the job for him.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so he basically dug the hole, put him in there. He was the victim was drugged. He had cut his face to make him bleed a lot, and then allowed animals to come and do it. So I don't think they actually mentioned what would have severed the head.
They don't.
Because I don't think it would have been the dog. I don't think a dog could sever a head.
Yeah, now that we mention it, they don't actually point out how it would have been. I think they talk about bite marks around
They say
it was severed.
There's a line at the start where they look at the severing of the head and they say it wasn't surgical.
Yeah.
That's something I do remember.
Yeah, it probably was a bear just coming by kicking it.
Yeah, just kicking it. just punching it.
Yeah. I mean, to a bear, that probably looks like a golf ball on a tee.
Yeah, they're just, well, it could have been like a popcorn chicken for a bear. Chomp. And that's pretty much the end.
That's pretty much the end, yes.
Yeah, it's all wrapped up quite neatly.
I did like the line of Catherine asking...
Because he was in love with your father? Or because he wasn't in love with you?
They don't clear that up at all. It is left with silence from the roommate and not cleared up.
Left ambiguous, yes.
I guess it is meant to be. I guess it's one of those things where they leave it up to the viewer to posit whether that would have been motives. I don't know if that's a regular thing in CSI where they're like, it could be this, it could be that. Who knows?
It does ring a bell, but I also don't like that they. I also like that they didn't have him just go into a homophobic rant at the end. It's just like, well, he deserved it for doing this to my dad and stuff like that. They made it more of a tragic character.
So, in terms of the amount of CSI you've seen, where does this rank in terms of quality?
Quality, I gotta say, probably a little low. I gotta say, I went into this expecting a lot of the tropes I remembered of CSI, where it's like a glitzy, salacious murder on the strip, or something happening in a casino. I might be thinking of Las Vegas, the TV show.
Because it's set in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Were most of the episodes in what we think of as Las Vegas? Because this is in small town Nevada.
Yeah, so it's from what I recollect, it was mostly in either casinos or or Las Vegas businesses, really, where it's a little bit seedy, but they also did, a lot of, it's a big city, so there was also a lot of domestic crime and just suburban crime as well, but it was also always kind of contained in Las Vegas city proper, and this is kind of going out a little bit more and kind of showing small town Nevada, small town America, different characters. Again, we didn't really have the supporting cast of, I figured it would be like 4 of the main cast working on one crime, and the remaining
just
3...
Grissom.
It's just Grissom, which I like. I love William Peterson as an actor. I like Gil Grissom as a character, but you don't want to see him too much. Again, if we were watching this week to week over several years, this would be a fun change of pace where it's like, well, this is lovely. I've grown accustomed to what CSI does, and this is a change of pace, and this is... If I didn't know any better, it kind of seems like they're setting up Henry Sony for a spin-off. But I think if you were watching this week to week, this would be a breath of fresh air. But if you're going into a podcast like this thinking, well, this is a great opportunity to watch an old episode of CSI, a little disappointing.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like when you watch X-Files and they do like an episode about Skinner, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is good. I'm happy for this change of pace. Because as much as I love Mulder and Scully, love to see some of the supporting cast as well.
Love it.
You know how I love Skinner.
I think it's a little...
And you know how I would climb Skinner like a tree.
Of course, we all would. He revealed the magician's secrets.
I want to do an X-Files podcast.
See, if you want to fucking do a podcast about everything.
Oh, well,
don't we all?
How else am I going to have friends?
Yeah.
As a show that I have not really seen any of that I can recall, this was fine, but I'd rather Law and Order. But what is most important is Jeff was in it.
Jeff, yes.
Reason for the season. He's doing good. I like that he sort of played it with a small amount of, not menace necessarily, but a small amount of venom for, I guess, what turns out to be, the life he lives, which acts as a good sort of red herring for the killer.
Having a lot of context about Jeffrey Combs going into this episode was very good, because I could also see... Because also knowing that the CSI would always put in little red herrings, I was like, okay, so he's weird and he's acting this way because we are meant to think he's going to do this versus that and that. So yeah, having a lot of that context was really helpful. And I think he does a great job. I think he looks great. He's really coming into his own. I think The only other thing around this time I would have seen would have been Bride of Reanimator, which was 02, 03?
No, that's 1990. Bride of Reanimators.
Oh, sorry. What was the third one? The one that I watched.
Beyond Reanimator.
Beyond Reanimator. Well, in that one, they're dressing him to look a lot like his older self, where I think it was much more dyed hair, and he didn't really have the creased faces. And I think they were kind of...
I don't think they did anything to his appearance, really, in Beyond. I think that they wanted him to look his age, because obviously he's been aged up in prison.
I remember a big cake of makeup, I got to say.
That's normal for
That's
a
normal.
film.
I know. But I think they were trying to recreate something that was bygone, whereas this is him trying to, when I say him trying to, the people who are working on the production, putting him into an older state, which I think he suits great.
Well, he's meant to just be, he's just meant to be an older small town guy.
Yeah.
Which, again, I do like a lot of the TV, mostly that he was doing around this time, because he's very good at this particular role in a TV show where he comes in and he does what a character actor does best, where he makes a big splash for a small amount of time. So the only other thing that I wanted to broach here, I do very thorough research for this show. And there was an actress listed on the IMDb as one of the waitresses in the diner that we end up at. And her name is Brooklyn James. I'll let you make your own choice as to how that's spelt. Anyway, I looked at her IMDb.
James with a G.
So I looked at her IMDb. She's an actress who also does stunt work.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Here are her credits.
Okay.
Not necessarily in order, but most of her credits.
Okay.
Oktoberfest girl, fireman pole dancer, escort, Sparkles pole dancer, exotic dancer Gigi, pole dancer, stripper Amber, candy, Botox woman, cigarette and candy girl, stripper Layla, vajazzled girl, stripper Barbie, exotic dancer Bambi, Playboy Mansion go-go dancer, exotic pole dancer, dancer/sex traffic girl, naughty nurse stripper, Playboy Mansion party girl, and Glinda the Good Witch of the North.
Oh, wow. It can be a wide breadth of roles for any young actor in Hollywood these days.
And what's funnier, though, is that she's not a porno actor, as far as I can tell.
By that, I would imagine she is just a dancer who might be
that's
moonlighting.
The thing. So I was, because I was like, oh, the way that Brooklyn is spelled, and also her headshot, and also these roles. I'm like, oh, she must be one of those actors who's done a lot of porn. Again, no judgment on porn. Porn's
I love
fine.
it.
But you know what? It serves a purpose.
Yeah. And we should point out we're not talking about Brooklyn James, the author, who, according to Google, savors any opportunity to blend books with music.
I have heard that about Brooklyn James.
She does have a page on the Dexter Wiki.
But I think I found it humorous, potentially, that somebody with that filmography was just a regular actor. The only thing I can think of is that maybe being a stunt person makes her particularly good at pole dancing.
Possibly.
Yeah.
She has been in, according to Letterboxd, she has been in 3 films, The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg, and then 2 things called Barely Legal and Celebrity Sex Tape.
So
I feel bad for jumping on this lady.
Barely Legal is actually a film, because I mentioned it on a previous episode. It's one of those films, and I've completely forgotten the production company. That production company that makes, like, basically dupes of famous films.
Oh, is this an Asylum?
Asylum, yes. So that's an Asylum film that's meant to look like a sex comedy. It's basically meant to be American Pie, but women.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's women who are trying to lose their virginity before the end of school or something like that. It's meant to be like a silly sex comedy, but it looks like a porno, which I guess is the point.
Okay. Well, you got my ticket.
Adding it to the watch list.
Anyway, Brooklyn James, you did a great job in this episode.
Look, I'm trying not to make fun of Brooklyn James. I just thought that was humorous.
I'm absolutely not. I do. Yeah, it sounds to me like she is a dancer who does some acting on the best luck to you.
Yeah, or it could just be that as a stunt person, she can do like pole dancing really well. So if they just need someone pole dancing in a scene,
true, yeah.
Maybe that's easy for a stunt person.
Makes
I don't
sense,
know.
yeah.
I can't pole dance.
I guess it probably does count. Yeah, it would be a stunt.
It would be. I imagine it's quite dangerous if you had never done it before to try pole dancing.
Because the poles are moving. They're rotating.
No,
Some of them are.
I don't think they do.
I think some do.
No?
Possibly.
No, the person moves
Some of them do.
around the pole.
Folks,
That's what the dancing is, Tim.
leave your comments down below from this episode, Season 4, Episode 6, Jackpot. Ching!
And this episode was a jackpot.
Oh, thank you.
You know why? Because I got to talk to you, Tim.
And I got to talk to you, Lisa Dibb,
Oh.
host of Reanimates,
Oh,
the podcast we just did.
Oh, is that what I do? Okay. Question that I had before that I was thinking of. I know what CSI stands for. What does NCIS stand for?
Navy Crime Investigation Services?
Navy.
Naval crime.
Naval crime.
Yeah, NCIS is about naval crime.
Like on the ocean?
Yeah. Or, like, anything to do with the Navy.
Huh.
And do you know what's the even weirder thing about NCIS? NCIS is a spin-off to JAG. And JAG was also naval-based.
Okay, I mean, how do they get Navy crimes every week?
I think when it says naval, it also includes any water-based crime.
Water-based
So it's like,
mugging a dolphin.
I was also going to say, like, Coast Guard stuff, they probably get wrapped up in on...
Racketeering on a pier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Navy has a lot of planes, as Top Gun taught us.
I assume that was the Air Force. Fuck me then.
They all did.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I don't know much about the Navy then. What does Law and Order stand for then?
Not much in these bloody day and age. They don't stand for anything.
No, it doesn't.
Luigi Mangione.
All right, well, anything to plug, Clarky?
Thank you again for having me, Lisa. Always a pleasure. Nothing really going on in TC HQ. Mm-hmm. Follow me on... Actually, don't follow me on social media. I don't use social media anymore. Follow me on Letterboxd if you want. I do a trivia every Wednesday. If you are based in Brunswick, Melbourne, I host a...
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
You can
come along.
You can come to Brunswick. It's not that far.
The best night of entertainment in Melbourne. Wednesday night, 7:30. I write and host my own trivia. But yeah, check that out. Victoria Hotel, Brunswick, every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Check it out. I get drunk and yell at people.
Not like here.
Not like this, no.
What's your Letterboxd?
At Mr. Timothy Clark. It's pretty good. We were talking about this beforehand. My most watched actor is Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise. Tied. Mission Impossible 8. That's going to tip it over.
The two Toms.
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah. Oh, and Tom Hanks has a new Wes Anderson this year, so it's going to be tied as well. Anyway, who gives a fuck?
People give a fuck, Tim.
No one cares.
They like this stuff.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And as we say at the end of every episode, I don't really like Jeffrey Combs that much. Good night, folks.
Wow. That's the sound of me murdering you.